Leadership Story Talks, where we discuss the practices that engage, motivate, develop, retain, and attract people to businesses. We'll give you principles and tools based on real-world stories to leverage listening and storytelling to become a better leader and management professional. Leadership Story Talks is produced by Narativ, a company that focuses on personal storytelling for business.
We had this one employee, it was a division of 10,000 people, and we had these customer experience leadership awards, right? And this one employee at a banking center ended up giving their kidney for a customer, right? So that person won this award, was highlighted for a long time. And I was like, because I used to always laugh because I'd be like, that person is amazing. And I'm sorry, I'm probably not giving my kidney for all the customers that come through. You know, I mean, it was, and then the bar was too high. Now that's nothing against that person. Holy cow,
I know.
right? Holy, but you're just like, you want me to give my kidney? To this. So it's just even thinking about how can we promote diverse stories of experiences, right? Of like, this person is a great employee, for, something beyond extraordinary measures.
All right. Well, that was Sally Loftis telling us about this really great story, but maybe that wasn't so representative of everyone, right, Jules?
Yeah, that was, like I said, a bar that was set really high. But that opens up the discussion to the fact that when we tell stories or acknowledge other people, it's not about big Hollywood moments or these incredible, exceptional things that somebody does. It's all the little small moments that come up to show others that you've been noticing what they're doing and appreciating them and want others to know about it. And I have a really good example. A few years ago, I worked with a tech company who decided to acknowledge all their staff by quarter and by year and do it in the meetings in their offices, sharing and teaching them how to share and swap stories. And then each week they would bring everybody together in the company and they would continue to share stories and show their best ones. So it was in the telling and the retelling of the story, it really sent a great institutional message to everybody of what was valued and appreciated. And it felt great, and the numbers were incredible, and you know what it's like to get people together to show up at the same time for a meeting. But out of all the stories, I remembered that there was one man who did a great job of describing the terror and the stress he had experienced when certain project hit his desk and there was some issues about resources and client expectations, and he was in a panic. And suddenly a phone call came, and somebody on the other end, his colleague, said, "I heard about what's on your plate. How can I help?" And that was one of the ones that made it to the big major event. But it was a small thing, like a phone call, a helping thing, and it made all the difference. So it was such a great technique to do. And it took a little bit of time, but basically it was free and people got to really take a step back and appreciate what their story is. So I think at every level in a company, because that happens too when you manage, you do that when you do goal settings. You have people who are different levels in their career and they say, that's not a big deal what I did. But showing up, coming on time, remembering what somebody said they were going to do and reminding them, like you string them all together, that's a big major moment of success. And we can make theater out of everything and really engage people's listening. And because we've all had those moments, we had those local hero moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think, when we think of the implications of sharing a story like the one you just talked about, if people see that in the organization, that will give them a sense of permission of like, oh yeah, I can pick up the phone and call somebody else and say, here's how I can help. It'll show their initiative, et cetera. It works for everyone. And as an organization, it kind of shows what you're about as a culture, without having to create some fancy deck or website that shows, that tries to demonstrate what we're about in our culture. That story really does it.
And they were creating these stories or capturing it as a result of COVID and what everybody, and it was already a virtual environment. It was people were scattered all over the planet and in the country. So it was a counterpoint to anybody who says you can't engage. If you find the human element and an opportunity to have a live interaction, you can really open up a lot of opportunities to appreciate others and connect. And it goes a long way when you go back into your regular work stream and reaching out to that person. You're never going to see them the same way, and it just builds rapport.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's who we are, kind of thing. That's great. One thing that I was thinking about as well, as the counterpoint to the person who gave a customer a kidney and then gets an award, which they should absolutely get an award for that. But then the danger, of course, is that becomes representative of the 10,000 people, and people who are. It may actually not motivate people to try to get that award, because I'll say, well, I'm not going to do that, but or I'll never be able to top that. We did some work as well, kind of similar to what you were talking about, but a little bit different in the sense that, we were working in call centers and trying to gather all these stories from this healthcare company with 50,000 employees. And rather than focus on one kind of big story, what we focused on was finding many small stories of successes within the environment of a call center. And the story that ended up getting the award and being nominated to be on kind of the company's face was really, a small story about someone who got a call from a customer who was angry about their health insurance, and how they walked them through the process and found out the reason that they were angry was because of that person's father having cancer and dying of cancer, and they were actually afraid that that was going to happen to them too. And it started with, I'm just angry about my health insurance, but actually that's how deep they got in a 5-minute conversation. And it checked so many boxes in terms of what the company was trying to communicate about. And what happened was that 2,000 people commented on that story. 100 people volunteered to tell their own stories, which had never happened in the history of the company before. So really the point here is, for our listeners, embrace the small moments, embrace those local heroes like you talked about. And then, with the benefit of hindsight and perspective, you can string those small moments to create a really powerful story. So yeah, there you go. That's your homework.
Yes. And
All right. Well,
you.
thanks, Jules, for another wonderful debrief episode, and hope everybody enjoyed that. And again, go to narativ.com for lots of resources and to hear more of these tips and advice, not just on our podcast, but also on our blog, narativ.com. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narativ.com.